Yeah, I'm Cliff Haddix. I am the pastor at Central Presbyterian Church in Dayton in the Moraine area. Stone's throw away from the old GM and Frigidaire plant. I have been streaming pretty much since the first week we went into lockdown. It was every weeknight. Now it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Check-in and evening prayer at 7 p.m. on Facebook Live and YouTube Live every night. And then we've been streaming our worship service. The first week was bare bones, and then it got pretty advanced, and then we went to worshiping in the sanctuary for a few weeks, and it's been kind of a hybrid, but very likely we're going to vote to go back to online tonight, which will mean going back to the model I was previous. My background before I was in ministry, I was in broadcasting, so a lot of this stuff is stuff I knew, or at least knew the theory of it. Granted, a lot of the technology had advanced a fair amount in recent years, but I've always been a bit of a nerd who's always played with technology, so it didn't take me that long to get back and being comfortable with it. And I've always been one to find a way to build it myself and do it cheaper rather than paying a whole lot of money for a really advanced system. So that's kind of the things I'm going to show you today are a lot of budget ways to do this without breaking the bank. Yes, there are thousands of dollars you can spend on really expensive systems. I'll show you how to do it for less. So, and that'll pass.
Great. How about Hank?
What?
You want to just introduce yourself and which church you're with?
And tell me if your church is streaming yet or not. That would be great if I knew what you were doing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm from Cornice Presbyterian Church off of Smithville. Right now we're doing Facebook Live, and our pastor is just using an iPhone to basically do it. We're not doing any music or anything, just basically a sermon and some prayers. Okay. Just on Sunday right now.
Great. Glenn?
Yeah. We've been doing delayed broadcast, and we've been trying Facebook streaming, which doesn't seem to be working real well. And so we're looking for better ways to do this.
And Glenn's from First Pres Troy.
Correct.
How about Joe?
Hi, I'm in First Presbyterian Church in Fairborn, and we went back to in-person worship this past Sunday. But prior to that, I was doing just a sermon on a YouTube video and sending that out on MailChimp with the church bulletin attached, and some organ music that our organist had played, selections. We included some links to those. So, and so now back in live, we're still doing sending the worship service out on Sunday, but this past Sunday I had someone just video the sermon portion, and I uploaded that to the YouTube channel, but trying to find a more, I don't know, a better way to do that. Okay. A little less seamless, a little more seamless, a little less people running around from the church.
Okay, no problem.
Great. How about Dwight?
Okay, yeah.
I'm here with Adam Stout, one of our audiovisual people that runs the show back there in the booth. And we've been broadcasting on Facebook Live. Broadcasting sounds lofty. We've been sending out a stream on Facebook Live, and we're going back in person this week, but staying live. We're going to stream live while we worship in person. And we just recently got several pieces of equipment that we believe will heal some of the wounds of the crashes we've had in the past. Adam, would you add anything? Or?
Yeah, it's like initially we've kind of experimented around with a couple different things. Like I know one week we did a whole service where we had music and everything, and we pre-edited that like one week. So we've been experimenting with a couple things. We've had organists, we've had special music usually played or on the services.
Okay.
Great. Diana?
I'm from First Presbyterian Church in Sydney. We have been in the sanctuary, worshiping in the sanctuary for the past 3 weeks. Before that, we were worshiping outside. We have a great outdoor area, and we were just having a ball outside. And we started video, just the sermon only, but I had no idea how we were doing it, how to do it. And then I got a new laptop, and so I could do it myself. But I still don't know what I'm doing. So I'm hoping to learn.
Okay.
Great. None of us knows what we're doing.
I learn something new every week. I learned new tricks just this morning. So
There you go.
the curve does not stop, unfortunately, but it's okay.
How about Stephen? We welcome him to our presbytery.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Stephen Bond, y'all, and I'm a director of Christian education at St. Andrew Presbyterian out here in Boulder, Colorado. I know Cliff from a conference that we attended at Montreat, and he had posted on Facebook that he was doing a info Q&A kind of thing about this, and I asked if I could attend because my head of staff has me working on, we have been doing digital worship since mid-March over Zoom every Sunday morning. We usually have 100 or so devices that sign into that, and we just do it live as a big Zoom call like this. And we are probably going to be digital through a good while, but are also kind of starting to get ahead of, okay, whenever we do go back to in-person, what does it look like to do this hybrid model of in-person worship while still doing Zoom live streaming for those, because we have people from Alaska to Florida that are joining in for worship on Sunday mornings due to the digital nature, and we want to keep that going.
Right.
Thanks for letting me join in with y'all.
Great. Gordon?
I'm Gordon Newman. I'm here with Jay White from Covenant Presbyterian Church in Springboro. We started off with Facebook Live and Zoom for those people who are calling in and didn't have Facebook. But we did go back to in church June 14th, and that started off to be in order to limit the number of people. We had a 9 and 11 o'clock service, and 10 o'clock. Sarah Sparks Franklin, our pastor, was still doing a streaming through Facebook Live. We have now cut that back to just 2 times on Sunday, 2 services on Sunday, and we're streaming the second service. That way we're not at church all morning. But yeah, we're also interested in other opportunities.
Great. Jay, do you want to add anything?
Hopefully I won't get a lot of feedback here. Let me know if you do. Can you hear me okay? A thumbs up or something?
Yeah, you're doing all right.
Okay. One thing to maybe clarify, I think Gordon touched on this, that we are doing Facebook Live, but in conjunction with that, we also have a audio connection just through Zoom. So we have probably 3 or 4 households on Sunday morning that call in using a landline. So there's people that do not have a computer, do not have a smartphone, whatever. So that's an added option that we've kind of come up with, jury-rigged, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Good creativity. Don?
I'm with Faith Presbyterian in Huber Heights. Excuse me. We had started out with the pastor with her cell phone doing weekly or daily devotionals that she would upload to YouTube, and we were doing a Sunday service again with the cell phone, an abbreviated service that usually runs 30 to 35 minutes, and she would upload that to YouTube. On Pentecost, we started meeting again in person with a digital camera, and after struggling the first week or 2, our secretary, who is reasonably technically savvy, started uploading that to YouTube. As of about a week and a half ago, we have decided to discontinue the in-service or in-church services because of the circumstances, especially up in the Huber area and throughout Montgomery County. So we are back to the cell phone with an upload to YouTube.
Great, thank you. Bruce? We've got Bruce and Sarah, Wilmington.
Bruce and Sarah, both from Wilmington, but we're not sitting in the same place, are we, Sarah?
No, we're not.
We have been doing a drive-in worship for 6 weeks, maybe. And we've Sarah added the YouTube, or not, sorry, the Facebook live stream the very first Sunday, and we've gotten better at it each Sunday. And, you know, we have a lot of people driving in, but there's still people that don't want to leave their home or can't leave their home that watch it on the live stream. And I think when we get back in the building, we'd probably continue with the live stream because we've been filming our services before COVID, and people will watch those on our website. So why not do the live stream also? It doesn't cost us anything in time or fees.
And I've noticed that people can go back and watch things again, that we've got increased viewership over the course of a couple of weeks. And people like that, being able to go back, listen to it, go back to pieces and parts again. That's been an unexpected benefit.
Also, we've been able to see people who are watching it, see their names come up. And sometimes it's people that don't live here anymore. Sometimes it's people that don't come, but do live here that we could reach out to. So that's good to know who's watching.
Absolutely. Nancy?
Hi, Nancy Hodgkins from Westminster Presbyterian Church in Dayton. We've been doing pre-recorded services. We started off in the sanctuary, but when the stay-at-home order came, we moved to our homes. I'm the person responsible for all of that. We've continued to do those. We were also doing a weekly Tuesday service up until the end of June, sort of a continuation of our Lent services. We have not done any live streaming. We have done the pre-recorded, heavily edited with pre-recorded music. Thankfully, we have quite an archive of music. We are investing in equipment and hope to return to the sanctuary at some point. Right now, we have a major organ project going on that was planned, but the the construction is pretty invasive into the worship space. We are, I think I just said, we're investing in equipment. We're hoping to be able to start probably recording services in the sanctuary and then posting them. But at whatever point it is we decide to welcome people back into the sanctuary, we're hoping to have a live stream. And one of the questions I'd actually called Cliff with a week or so ago was trying to figure out how to add pre-recorded content. Because again, with the no singing thing, how do you?
We will cover that today.
Excellent, excellent. So, and once we get back to doing stuff in the sanctuary, I'm hoping to maybe pass off some of these editing duties. That's been my primary job these days. But the other thing, we're using Zoom for education on Wednesdays and Sunday, and lots of meetings, and so that's worked well. We've only used it once for worship, which we did a pre-recorded service and then did a ordination installation service for our elders and deacons over Zoom, which was actually really powerful. So definitely some hope for that. We're also going to use Zoom for communion the first week in August, so we're looking forward to that.
Great, thanks, Nancy. Marc?
Hi, I'm Marc Von Bullock. I'm an associate pastor for Family and Campus Ministries at Oxford Presbyterian Church in Oxford, Ohio. Like many of you, we're basically only doing stream services virtually. We're not doing any in-person worship services at this time, and that's probably going to be the case for at least the foreseeable future. Basically, what we've been doing is, like many of you have already said, it's my iPhone mounted on a tripod and doing worship over Facebook Live. Our session is wanting to invest in some upgraded equipment to try to improve the experience, but we're looking at a bunch of different options and what that may or may not look like. So this conversation today is relevant.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Merritt? I don't know if she's there. Hey, Merritt.
Hi, everyone. I'm multitasking, so forgive my blank screen. Okay. I am just recently accepted the call to College Hill as senior pastor there on July 1st. Prior to July 1st, they were, I think, pre-recording their services and streaming them, putting them on Facebook. But we went to live worship services on July 5th. We are worshiping outside in the parking lot and using Facebook Live. And so everything is happening live now and being streamed at the same time.
Great, thank you. And Sue, we're just telling what church we're with and what we're doing right now in terms of worship and technology.
Okay, actually, I should be Mike Seiler, but he's late getting home. But
we are recording, Susan. We are recording. So
thank you for that. He'll appreciate it. On June 7th, the Belleville Presbyterian Church opened for live services, and we have an 8:30 that we record, and then a 10 o'clock. And we screen the parishioners with their temperature, ask if they're ill or not. They're restricted in only 2 doors they can enter. Our sanctuary has ribbons along some of the pews so that they can only get into pews in our distance. They all wear a mask, or we give them one if they don't have it. We do sing. We've got it down to just 1 verse on each of the hymns. Our service is all on the 3 monitors that we have in the church. So if folks really don't need to use a bulletin, but they're all being mailed to them, and then they bring it and take it home with them. We do communion with the covered cups and actually cubes of bread in tiny plastic bags. And so we're really, we opened up on the 7th, and we have some people that haven't come, and then others that I think they've seen the sanctuary and the process that we have, and they feel comfortable coming.
Great, thank you. So we have a couple people that may come in. I've gotten some things that say some folks might be coming in late, but thankful that you are all here. As I look around, you represent a lot of different congregations in a lot of different contexts. Some of you are able to come back, some of you just for sheer size, not yet. And as you heard, because of some of the surges, some of us, especially in these southern counties, are surging. So we have folks who have discontinued just as we're coming back. So today we want to be casual and informative. And while Cliff has some things he's definitely going to share, we want to invite your input. So if you want to raise your hand using the little hand raises just on your, when you go into your participant, we've got little blue hands and stuff. If you want to raise that, or even in the chat, if you want to use the chat, and then we can get that going. I see that I have not seen Mike Gardner trying to get in. I saw that in the chat, but I haven't seen him pop up yet. Have you, Cliff?
No, I haven't.
Okay, we'll try that again.
Okay.
So nice and casual, trying to meet your needs where you are. And this doesn't necessarily have to be a one and done. If we need to revisit this and come back because there's a lot of questions and a lot of layers, we will definitely do that. This is one of the ways in which we as the Presbytery are trying to make sure that we are connecting and then equipping all of you to do ministry in a very, very different time. For those who may not know, and Stephen does not know me, I am Terry. I'm your executive presbyter. And let's go ahead, and I'm going to start us with prayer. Lord, as we gather here in this new way, in a disjointed type of time, we are grateful that you are providing us with the energy, intelligence, imagination, and love we need to find the new ways of being your church, conveying your love, and being your witnesses. So bless us in this time together as we learn from one another and as we are encouraged by our brothers, our sisters, our kindred here with us, learning and growing so that we may grow closer to you, closer to one another, and find ways to reach out and minister to the communities in which we find ourselves. Let us be open to you and your spirit now in this time, for we pray all this through Christ. Amen. All right, Cliff?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I do want to go Q&A with this as much as possible, because I imagine some of you have some very specific questions you want to ask. I'd rather we not start at the top floor of the most complicated questions. I'd rather we work toward the most basic stuff and work our way up. We'll see if we can get to the really advanced ways that you can stream. But a few things that some of you said made me think of specific things I should say from the get-go to cover a lot of bases, just from the things you said in the intro. Someone made the comment about our parishioners don't have Facebook. You do not have to be a Facebook member to go to a Facebook page and watch a video. So if your church has a Facebook page and you stream to it, they do not have to have a Facebook account. They can simply go to the page and watch your live stream without ever joining Facebook. They can watch it just fine. They won't be able to comment on it. They won't be able to give live feedback as it happens, but they can see it. So if that's something that has prevented you from using Facebook because our people don't use it, well, they could use it without being a member. Or you could stream to YouTube, which again, they don't have to be a member, they don't have to have an account. They can just go to the page for your particular group and watch it there. If you want us to send it to both, that's a little more advanced lesson I can teach later on in the day, but that takes a little extra work to do. We do that here, but it requires.
I'd like to know how to do that.
We will get to that. We will get to that. That's second and third floor. We're in the basement right now, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So yeah, so you don't have to have a Facebook account to go to watch Facebook videos. My father is the most anti-Facebook person you will ever meet. So my dad does not use Facebook, but he watches our worship on Facebook without an account. So you can stream to Facebook Live and people can watch it without needing an account to do it. A lot of you said Facebook, that you're streaming as Facebook as a smartphone on a tripod. That is a great start. That is an absolutely great start. You have everything you need in a smartphone to be streaming your service. But a few hints to make that work well. Someone holding it during worship is going to make everybody at home dizzy.
Right.
This is a tripod mount for a smartphone. This is the one, Mark's already nodding because I already recommended this to him. This is the Mi Photo Sidekick 360. They're about $30 on Amazon. What this does, put your smartphone in it, screw it in, and it holds your smartphone. And then you put it on a tripod, and it will sit perfectly still, hold a great shot. You can make fine-tune adjustments to get the angle just right, and then your smartphone is then recording, and you don't have to have somebody holding it the whole time. While we're on the subject, shoot like this, please. Horizontal, not vertical. The biggest thing that turns people off is if the experience at home is not like watching television. And that's not to say put on a show, but if they have two big black bars on the side of their screen because you're shooting like this, it's off-putting. Shoot like this if you think they're only going to watch on a smartphone. If they're going to be watching on their computer and their laptop or their TV at home, shoot like this. When you go into the Facebook Live, I'm not going to actually start transmitting, but let me go into, for those that don't know, I'll hold up here. So, oh great, Facebook changed the layout today. Thank you so much, Facebook. Okay, all right, so here on my Facebook screen, these are the pages that I administer. There's the church account. That's also a podcast I run. But I'm going to touch the church account. And now I'm at the church's the church's website. I have the option for creating a post. I push create a post. It says, what do I want to do? I have a number of options. Down at the bottom is live video. So this is for anyone who's never used their smartphone to stream to Facebook Live. I'm still in my church's account. I've called it create a post. I'm clicking live video. Up comes this screen that right now is in portrait mode, which I can't stand. Turn it this way, everything spins, which means now when it transmits, it will transmit in a horizontal full screen resolution. If I were to click that little camera on the right-hand side, I would immediately be streaming to our Facebook page right now what I'm doing. Don't want to do that right now, so I'm not going to do that. But that's all you got to do. And at that point, you're streaming live until you push that button again and turn it off. It is that simple. If you are nervous about this, your first time to stream should not be Sunday morning before worship. Do a devotion in your office one day and just stream it live to see how it goes. Maybe you don't even tell anybody you're doing it. It's a surprise. It just pops up on their Facebook, and you're just think of it as a dress rehearsal. Or what I did, I was doing my evening prayers every night at 7 o'clock. Just getting comfortable with pushing that button, knowing people are watching, knowing people can feedback, knowing people might comment, get the feedback, and you see and you respond to it. And then once it's done, click it off. Now, few things to make that experience work well. I heard a bunch of you say you're working outside, that you're doing outside worship. Great, we did outside worship too. If you're going to stream from a smartphone outside, you need to make certain the phone is in the shade. We had my phone shut down in the middle of worship outside a few weeks ago because the sun got it too hot, the phone overheated, stream gone. So either place it in the shade or put an umbrella or something above it, because if the phone gets too hot, it will shut down and you'll lose your stream. Be wary of heat outside. Another basic thing, and I did this intentionally. See that bright light over my shoulder? This is not how you set up a shot. Yes, it makes my hair luxurious and have a halo, but this really isn't what you want when you're doing a shot. So watch the difference in the quality of this picture with about 3 things I'm about to do. I just got rid of the bright light behind me and the bright light above me, which helps, does a lot, because the way that a camera works, it's like your eye. It's an iris. And if there's bright lights behind you, it's trying to adjust to say, well, what should I really show nicely? And that helped. But what if we have better lighting in the front as well? Oh, don't you fall over. Now how well can you see me? A lot better. Yeah. Background's kind of back. Let me adjust that just a little bit. There we go. That's a bit better. So you may say, Cliff, where did you get those fancy studio lights that you just turned on? At Home Depot. These are clamp-on lights like you would find in a shop. And they have daylight LED light bulbs. And I cut a shower curtain and clothespined it on. If you went to Amazon and looked up studio lighting, you'd be $100 a pop for those. And I made both of them for $30. So granted, it doesn't look pretty from the outside, but as far as lighting up the space so that you can more clearly see your subject, if you're going to have your pastor or you as the pastor are going to simply be doing a sermon and just stream that, make certain you've got good lighting so that you look right. And so that it'll put the best effort for it on the screen. Also, the next best important thing is audio. So if you're going to use a smartphone, which is fine, make certain it's close to you. Make certain it won't pick up a lot of background noise as best as you can. There are limitations to how well a smartphone will pick you up. When we do our outdoor service and I stream it, I make certain that the speaker that has my microphone on it is right underneath the smartphone, so that as it's projecting the sound out for the whole parking lot to hear, the microphone is right there to pick it up so that the sound goes out well. Once you get past 7 feet, 8 feet from a smartphone, the sound quality really degrades and it's really hard to hear. People will forgive bad picture a lot more than they will forgive bad sound. Because if they can't hear what the sermon is, you know, you're quick to lose them at that point. So any questions about anything I just said? Okay. To the point. Oh, yes.
I just wanted to add something.
Yeah.
There is a, we had for when we've been streaming on this Facebook Live, like when we haven't used like any kind of extra camera to hook to a computer, we have been using Dwight's iPhone. And what we have is we picked up a cable that converts like a balanced connection to like into the jack that you put into your iPhone, and
So
actually we're able to actually then to send an XLR all the way to the mixing board. So we're able to actually we're able to use the whole system with that.
Yeah. That's the next floor. That's where we're headed next. This, like right now, you're viewing my Zoom is not my webcam. The Zoom signal you're seeing right now is what's called OBS. It's a streaming software, and I'm using it to send my signal to Zoom. Are any of the churches using anything other than just a direct camera to Facebook Live? Are any of you using anything other than that? Or is Facebook Live from a webcam? Is anybody using OBS or any streaming software?
We have, yeah. We've had problems with OBS. That's what's our computer is it will randomly just like shut off, whether or not it's from, we're not sure if it's from like the CPU overheating.
Okay.
Is what we've been running into.
Okay. So I'm going to take you more into the setup that we're using here with we're going now to the second floor. So right now I'm running a program called OBS, on-screen broadcasting software. OBS. First bit of good news I'm about to give you. It's free. So if you want to tinker with it, play with it, see if you want to use it, the only thing you will be out is the amount of time you put into it. It will cost you nothing. It is software that is used largely by video game streamers, but anybody that uses any type of streaming to Facebook, to YouTube, whatever, uses this software. And you can use it as simple or as complicated as you like. Now, what I have set up right now, I'm in the sanctuary where we have set up our streaming setup, and I have a switcher that's built in because OBS, you build what are called scenes. And in the scene, you put in everything you want. Right now, I told it, I want you to use my iPhone pointing at me for one particular scene. But I also have the scene of the front of our sanctuary so that you can see that's the camera that we normally use when we're shooting. When Terry was here preaching on Sunday, this was the camera we were using to shoot as she preached. And it comes back to the iPhone, but also if we need a black screen, if we need people to stand by, and we need to send people home when it's all over. All of this is made in the software and switchable, and you can make anything you want in it. You can make it more complicated. You can make it less complicated. It can simply feed the source of, in this case, my iPhone. It only costs, there's a $5 fee for an application to turn your iPhone into a camera that works with OBS. Because it's free, they charge you for add-ons. And as far as I'm concerned, to only spend $5 to have this capability is still pretty cheap. And it enables me to send whatever comes through this program out of stream. In this case, I have it set to go out through my Zoom. But on Sunday morning, it's set to send the signal to the streaming services so that whatever is coming through this program, and let me share the screen so you can see. So over here, so this is what OBS looks like. Down here, I have my various scenes, like there's the camera scene, there's the standby scene, the ending scene, my iPhone. And in each one, I can build what I want to be in that. In this case, the video source is an iOS camera. Now, I'm not running audio through the setup I'm doing today, but on Sunday morning, when we're using the camera, there's an audio feed right there, that little audio box. And that's picking up the sound of the sanctuary and sending it out the stream. I added it in there. I said, when you're in this scene, I want you to take audio from the sanctuary, and I'll explain how we get to that in a second. And it goes out, and this feeds Facebook Live, this feeds YouTube Live through a streaming service that we use. Now, I do not have the time today to teach you everything about OBS, but there are a ton of OBS tutorials on YouTube, and I can even recommend, I can send out in an email the people I recommend that teach very well, where you can say, I want to learn how to do blank in OBS, and they'll teach it. How do I attach it to my Facebook? Follow the instructions, and it'll get you there. This program lets you do a lot. And what I was able to, let me turn off, okay. On Sunday morning, what I was doing when we were doing the peak of our online worship, I would pre-record the 3 sections of worship. Everything up to passing of the peace, then everything up to the prayers of the people, and then the end of worship. And I would put those 3 pre-recorded elements into OBS to be played. I would play the first I would start it live at 10 a.m. I would play that first section, and it would have all the liturgy, it would have the music, it would have everything. I had put the lyrics on. It was a lot of work, but I put everything in there. And then when it came time for prayers of the people, I would click on the camera to go live to greet the congregation live in worship. And it would look like this. Amen. Amen. Good morning, and the peace of Christ be with you on this Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of you who are mothers, whether that is in community or in biology or in adoption or whatever way it is that you serve a mothering role in our world. We wish you a happy Mother's Day. So that would enable me to be interactive and live, as well as have everything pre-recorded. And the program would let me swap back and forth between each of those pieces. When it would come to time for prayers of the people, I can have Facebook Live open on my screen, and I can view in real time the prayer requests that the congregation is putting in there, so that I can then lift up their individual prayer requests. So it's able to be interactive. And then once I'm all done, I hit the final part of the service. And once it starts, I go get my coffee and have breakfast with my kids. No, actually, I would stay there because I was always afraid something would go wrong. But it opens the door to a lot more than just having a camera on a tripod. The possibilities, once you get comfortable, become endless. And Diana's got her hand up.
Yes, I do. I have a couple of questions. First of all, I probably am the only one in the world without a smartphone. My phone is not smart.
Okay.
Sorry. So I am limited to my laptop.
Okay.
And so I'm assuming that I can do these same things that you have just said with a laptop. Is that correct?
Does your if does your laptop have a camera in it?
Yeah, that's what I'm using.
Yeah. So yes, you absolutely could. You absolutely could. You'd have to have your laptop up, open. But you can assign your laptop's camera into OBS to be used as a camera by OBS. So it can be a video. You basically, when you build your scene, you're saying what components that your computer has access to do you want to be in this scene, and you have options for video and audio. And one of the video options would be your webcam. It would pop up, and you'd say, yes, please use my webcam as my video source. And then you'd have to size it, and you have to pull and stretch to make it fit. And yeah, it's going to take time to get comfortable with it. Any new software, especially if you've never done video before, it's going to take time to get comfortable with it. But your camera, absolutely, in your computer can be used for that purpose. Same thing with the audio. You can tell it to use the microphone that's built into your laptop, and as long as you're sitting in front of it, that's going to be fine. The minute you start wanting to be outside of in front of your computer, that's when we need to add a few more things. And I'm willing to, I'll talk more about those more things in just a second. But any other questions that you have, or anyone else?
Yes, I have one. I figured out how to go on YouTube and upload, but it has limited me to 14 minutes. So I have to have a short sermon. Is that correct? I mean, am I doing something wrong?
That shouldn't be the case. I upload full worships all the time.
It cuts me off. It cuts me off at 14 minutes.
Is it your church's official or is it your personal YouTube?
Well, it's my personal because, well, long story short, it tried to make me the church, and then all of my emails were commandeered with the church address. So
you might want to try creating a new one just for the purpose of the church's, and maybe even call it, you know, your church's name /streaming or -streaming for the purpose of it. And YouTube, you know, the way I'm doing it is I'm using the live dashboard to stream it live. And once it's done, it automatically archives the worship service for me. So you're streaming it, but YouTube is also recording it. So once you're done, it's up there. So everything we've ever live streamed is archived on YouTube.
Well, I've never tried streaming it, live streaming it. I've never tried that before, but I've just recorded it on my laptop and then uploaded it, and that's how it worked. But
that's a new one on me, Diana. I don't know if there's a weird setting somewhere that's triggered that I don't know about, because I uploaded full worship services that were over an hour to YouTube just fine and haven't had a problem.
We tried that. It didn't work.
I don't know. I'll try to do some digging to see if I know if anybody else has had that problem. That may just be a matter of creating a new account or something, and because there may be a funky setting that's on that account that's just something I'm not aware of. But
thank you.
That should not be happening. That is something that's out of the ordinary. That's not as intended by YouTube. So, any other hands up for questions? Okay, Adam touched on this a minute ago. Ways to get better audio into your stream. There are add-ons that you can add on to a smartphone that allow you to put an external camera on it if you're going to still be using the smartphone method. If you're going to consider going the OBS route through a computer, whether it be a laptop or a desktop or whatever, like we're doing here, there's some hardware you can get. Let me pull in my little show and tell box here. This, close up the box so it's a little easier to read. This is what's called a USB audio interface. What this is it takes audio and converts it to a USB plug to go on your computer, so your computer can receive audio from somewhere. And what we have, this is between the computer and our church's soundboard, so that we can take what comes from the church soundboard and run it into the computer to go out over the stream. Now, not everything that you want picked up to go over the stream do you need to amplify within your worship space. So take a look at your church's soundboard. Unfortunately, in the past, but in this case, it's going to work for us, most churches buy a soundboard bigger than what they need. Meaning, you've probably got what are called channels that your church isn't actually using. And in our case, we had a monitor channel, and talk to your church audio people and they'll know what you're talking about. A channel that wasn't being used for anything. It was empty. So we take everything that we need to be going out over the stream, including a mic drop in front of our organs amplifier, including the pulpit, the lectern, everything that we want people to be able to hear. We feed it out that channel, feed it into this and into the computer, so that the people at home hear the organ, the people talking at the lectern, the people at the pulpit, and they hear them well, because they're hearing them through the microphones that are right in front of the people's mouths. So it's not like really far away on the smartphone. It's the microphone that you would normally hear in worship. My headset mic that I wear on a Sunday morning is hooked into it so that people can very clearly hear me at home. Again, good audio makes a huge difference for people staying connected, because they want to hear what's going on. And if there's big moments of silence, it's a problem. And I'll own, this past week, I totally dropped the ball. I forgot we had handbells, a handbell solo for the anthem. And I did not put a microphone on the handbell table. So it was probably being barely picked up by the lectern mic, but it's not going to sound good. If I'd had 5 more minutes, I would have put a microphone on that table. But all of this stuff, the wiring for all this is already in place because it's already hooked up in the church. I just needed one wire to hook the soundboard to this and this to the computer, and then I just had to do adjustment to the levels to get everything the way it sounded right.
How much is that? How much does that cost?
About $100 to $120 for this.
Which one is that?
This is the Audio Box USB 96. It has 2 audio inputs that you can control, and then it's got an overall main mix. It's got a headphone mix, so that my sound guy can plug this into a set of headphones, and whatever he's hearing in those headphones is what's going out over the stream, as compared to what we're hearing in the room. Because what we're hearing out from the room is the main mix. This is the stream mix, so he can hear it differently. So yeah, that's about how much that these are. You can get more advanced ones of these. I have an 8-channel one that I use for recording music that I actually used this morning because we had to record music for this week's worship in the event that we don't do live. But you don't need 8 channels. You only need 2. And
so
you
is that
only use 1 just to get the audio from there to here and into your computer.
Which is the manufacturer again? Because like I've been looking at the
PreSonus.
The PreSonus one. Okay, because I've been looking at the Audient ID14 or something like that.
I mean, it's kind of a Mac versus PC thing. You just fall in love with a brand, and this is the church's, but I personally own 2 PreSonus audio interfaces, and I love them. And take that for what it's worth. But yeah, it's just a brand I like. And
I still have my old Echo Layla.
It works with most any audio or video editing program that I can just plug it in, and I've got the channels there. So
now, when you did your pre-recorded music, did you pre-record at the church, or what did you do?
Well, I've done a little bit of both. We do, like today, and we're going up to the penthouse now, but I'll take you to the penthouse for a second. So I use a multi-track recorder. I record. Today I was recording 4 simultaneous tracks of audio. The piano, the organ, and 2 vocalists that were in separate parts of the choir loft singing with plastic around them. And I record those into 4 channels. I have 2 cameras positioned recording the whole time. I will take all of that and dump it into a video editor, synchronize all of the audio and video tracks, and cut back and forth between the images and put the words on top.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's it. Oh, okay.
It's a lot of work, but again, this is my degree at work. I know how to do this. I've been doing it for a while. If you want to take the time to learn how to do it, you can. But in that, I get a really good quality of, like, if you saw the end of that video I just showed you, when Bob Westfall is singing, the Glory Patri, and I've got cameras moving around him in the whole 9 yards. But the audio was recorded by the interface so that you would get a good quality audio, and I combine it all together.
Now, what kind of mics were you using for that?
I'm using is Shure SM58s.
You're not using condensers?
Those simple live microphones that you've all got in your churches. Those things that take a beating. As long as someone is up on close on them, they record just fine. You do not need to go get a fancy condenser mic for this purpose.
So we've got like 2 old Samson CO1s that we use for the choir. We got 3 of them that we mostly use around like as kind of utility. So like, it's like, I guess like if for pre-recording, is there any card that you'd recommend with phantom power? This guy was looking at the small Audient unit because it had its own 40-volt source.
This has phantom power in it. These have phantom power. So if you wanted to use these to pre-record, you could use it with a condenser mic like that. These can supply phantom power. Because I know this because I actually recorded one of Dwight's recording sessions, comedy shows at your church using those.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think we probably met them before.
Yeah. So I've done that. Any other questions before we move up the elevator?
Mark has a question.
Yes.
Hey, Cliff, I'm sorry. I know we don't want to stay in the penthouse too much longer, but when you were talking about the multi-track recorder earlier, is that like you're using like a Zoom or something like that?
I'm using audio software by it's an old. It's something I wouldn't recommend to anybody, but it's just what I have. I have a DJ remixing software called Acid that does multi-track recording as well, and I use it just to do raw track recording. But Adobe Premiere does it. There are a bunch of different audio recording programs that
I'd probably recommend Reaper for audio because it's like $60, I think. It's supposed to be pretty powerful. So
you don't need to go spending the most expensive thing. You just need to find one that works with an audio interface and plug it in. You can do multi-track recording. Okay. All right. So next, let me take you to video options. If you are using, again, through OBS, this shot that I'm showing you right now, all that is a camcorder I bought for $250 on Amazon. This is a Canon Vixa HFR 800. Okay? And then I run that with a with an HDMI into this. Now, before I fully recommend this, I have a different version of this coming this week that I'm going to test. This is a QGEEM audio HDMI capture device. And what this does, you plug the HDMI in it and plug it into USB, and it tells your computer how to receive that camera picture. So that camera can feed into the computer through this little piece of equipment. This was on Amazon. I think it was $120 as well. QGEEM HDMI capture. Like I said, I just got a better recommendation for one that's about $50 more, and it's on the way. It's supposed to get here today, and it's supposed to have a little bit better prevention of loss of frame. This one was stuttering a little bit on me last week, which I really didn't like. I want a nice, smooth video for people watching at home. But yeah, it's still, we're not breaking the bank yet. We're not breaking the bank, and that's my goal, is to do this in a way that's affordable. So again, once you get this and you plug it in the camera and you plug it in the computer, you go back into the OBS and you add a source to your scene, and it'll give you video capture. And you find it and you set it and you get the settings right, boom, and it's on screen.
So, Cliff?
Yeah.
What if you did not have that in between the camera and the computer?
Yeah.
What happens?
Oh, there's not a way to connect it. You can't plug an HDMI into a computer unless it's got a way for it to get in. Now, the one workaround to this would be to use the iPhone thing I showed you before. You could use an iPhone operating into OBS as your video capture. The reason I went with this was so I would have the optical zoom and I wouldn't be having to hook my iPhone up in worship every Sunday to be our camera.
So if the computer has an HDMI, you could use
most computers, the HDMI that you see is an HDMI out, not an HDMI in. The HDMI connection you most likely see on your computer is one that's made to send it to a monitor.
Okay.
So yeah, it will not take it as an in. This is doing the work of turning the HDMI signal into the USB signal so your computer can read it. So yeah, the HDMI on your computer is meant as an out.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Oh, I do have one more. Okay, I have one more thing I can show you. So when you saw me before, and I'll share again so you can see. Like when I'm doing the switching down here, you see me switching between these settings down here to change what goes out. And but let's say you got someone who says, "Oh, Cliff, I'm nervous about clicking and mousing, and I'm going to do it wrong." Okay, well, this again, I spent a little money for this, but it's been worth it to me. This is called a Stream Deck, and this little device is made to work with OBS, and you can change all the buttons because those are tiny little LED screens. So you change them to be what you want it to do. So that when I want the screen to go to black, I push this button, it goes to black. I push the iPhone, comes back. Push the camera, it changes. And you can assign them to be whatever you want. Most importantly, in the left-hand corner, it's the button that's marked stream, so people know to click that and we'll start streaming. So it's meant to make it, for me, it's convenient, so I can flip quick on the fly when I want to change, when I'm doing my stuff at home. But for someone who's going to be petrified to sit at this computer, afraid they're going to break it, and you're saying, look, there's only 4 buttons you have to push. Push them in order, and it'll be okay. And they're lit up. What order? You can change. You can even change to where the first thing you want them to push is a big bold 1, and then a big bold 2, and a big bold 3, and say, just push them in order, and it'll be fine, and it'll work. Again, that was about, I think that may have been about 150. But yeah, I'm still, each of these purchases, even though I had the full blessing of my church to do what I needed to do to make this work, I managed to stay under the bylaw of must be approved by finance because it's such a high price in my church. Not that I was trying to be sneaky, but just nothing really was a bank-breaking piece of equipment in what I did. The most expensive thing probably is my computer, which I already had. I do have a little bit of a higher-end computer to run all this. So, I mean, you do want to make certain that your computer's got a decent processor. The best way that I can recommend it, and I know it's going to sound silly, but it's true. If you buy a gaming computer, whether it's a laptop or a desktop, that will have enough oomph to stream just fine, because the video card in it will be able to handle the work of the encoding, of the recording, because OBS can also serve as a recorder. If you wanted to record with a nice camera, a nice microphone, and record your service, you can record through OBS as well as stream. And you could do the switching of the cameras and all of that and do it like a live recording. So it's got a lot of functionality. And again, one more time I'll say it, it's free. And it will allow you a lot of freedom in what happens. So that, yes, you have pre-recorded most of your worship, but by the fact that you're saying, we're going to start streaming at 10 a.m., which is our normal worship time, I've kept the congregation in the habit of coming together to worship at 10 a.m. And we're a church of a membership of around 120. We are on the weeks that we were online only, I was an average of 40 to 50 devices tuning in at 10 a.m. every week. And the average device probably has 2 people watching it. So I think we've done a pretty good job of retaining. To that end, to go back to something I think Joe said, Joe mentioned the HDMI on a computer. For your people who are at home, they can take that HDMI and plug it into their big screen TV in the living room, and they can watch worship on that rather than on their little handheld device. So that can be a teachable thing for your congregation to improve their worship experience to where they can sit comfortably on the couch. It's on a big screen. It's not them all huddling around the phone. But it's another little teachable thing. Mark, your hand's up again.
Cliff, this information is so helpful, and I love all the ground that you're covering with us, and as you're teaching us how to use these different devices and adapters. And I'm wondering if there is somewhere available a list of all the devices that you've been talking about this afternoon.
I need to make that. I'll see about making a full list that I'll try to attach to this. I'll tell you, when this is all done, I'll take the recording of this Zoom call, I'll make it a YouTube video, and in the comments, I'll try to put all the things I've bought and a link to them on Amazon. So you can order from Amazon or you can order from wherever. But yeah, I'll try to put all the where to find the equipment links there, and also a link to how to find OBS and everything else. I can do that. It may take a couple of days because I'm about to throw worship together in about 3 days.
Sure, of course. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Cliff wasn't watching the chat to show that I'd already shared with all of you that we will be sending all of the information or links. Yeah, we're going to definitely be on top of that. I'll be on there. Cliff, there we have Merritt has a question in the chat.
Okay. I have received questions from people who say there is no live button to push in case they left and came back. It evolved to the recording starting over. I'm guessing we're talking about Facebook Live there. That I don't have a good answer for. That's how their system is set up. That they don't want you to have think that, we don't want you to miss this. We'll start it over for you again. Now, what they may be able to do is go to the bottom and click and move the little bar that shows how far you are in progress of the recording. You may be able to what's the proper broadcasting? Is that Scrum?
Yes.
I can't remember. Yeah, scrum ahead to get to the point that it's live again. I'm not usually watching it. I'm running it, so I don't know, but that's kind of by design because they want you to make certain you've seen everything. Hank is asking a very important question that I meant to say something about earlier, which is music copyright. Do not mess around with music copyright. There are plenty of ways to cover yourself. If your church uses CCLI, like for the lyrics that you put up on a screen, CCLI has an add-on for streaming that, yes, you have to pay for, but it covers your licensing of the use of music over a live stream. If you're going to just use your sermon, no problem. Just use your sermon, don't worry about it. But if you are going to use music, CCLI has an add-on license. There's also onelicense.net, but they may not cover every song you want to use. You have to kind of check to see if the music you're wanting to use is covered under those licenses. I'm really fortunate. Our music director, Leslie, is great about looking it up and making certain that everything we're using falls under our license, so I don't have to worry about that. But it's a little bit of extra homework, but it's worth doing. I imagine, I know there's going to be a little bit of grace because we're all kind of having to learn this super fast. In fact, onelicense.net offered free streaming licensing for about a month and a half to churches. But that doesn't cover every song. It covers a lot of songs, doesn't cover them all. So you do need to do a little bit of your homework through CCLI to make certain that the music you want to use is covered. Yes, Hank.
Okay, how do you incorporate that? When you get the license, how do you apply that to your Facebook or whatever? Is there a way to
what I do at the end of my streams is I put up a little credit graphic that says streamed music covered under CCL license with our church's CCLI number, and it's just there at the very end.
Okay.
And that covers us. Thank you, Hank. I meant to bring that up earlier because that is very important. Because the last thing you want is your worship service to have gone great and then there be a copyright violation against it, and then Facebook mutes your audio because you had unlicensed music in it. So.
Will you be able to put example language in the YouTube video?
Yeah, I gotta see what I can do about that too. In fact, I guess I can just put the closing credit, for lack of a better term, the closing credits from our worship service that shows it. Any other questions?
Cliff, I didn't see any examples of words being put on the screen. Like I was thinking of scripture, of like slides like we used at the Presbytery meeting.
Yeah. Okay, so this is me. This is what I'm learning right now. I am trying to find a way, and I'm still working on getting it right, and this is why I'm buying another one of these. I'm attempting to interface our Mediashout computer with the streaming computer so that what goes on the screen up there can be sent to the stream. And I'm still getting that figured out. I've tried it, and all I'm getting is a black screen. So I don't know if that's a resolution thing or I just need to do some more tinkering. I'm still working on getting it right. But in theory, I should be able to take a signal from another computer that runs Mediashout and run it into my stream just fine.
Yeah.
The harder way I do it is if everything's pre-recorded, is I'm using a video editing software called Vegas Pro, which it's like Final Cut Pro. It's like, Windows has their own, editing software, and you can put text on the screen. So it's a little labor intensive, but what I do is I put the words for the hymns up underneath my singer, verse by verse by verse by verse, and then when I render it all and we play it back, the words just come up on the screen with it. There is a way to do that in OBS. I'm afraid to do it with every piece of liturgy would be very labor intensive every week. So I want to keep wrestling, and maybe by the next time we do this, I'll have it figured out to where I take my Mediashout or PowerPoint, whatever you call it, and send it to the stream so that it's just a matter of flipping the switch and they just see what's on the screen. In the meanwhile, what I've done is normally on a Sunday morning when we're all gathered up here, it's down because we had a funeral service this week. The screen is up there between the lectern and the pulpit with the words so that the people at home can see what's being projected. And that's the workaround I'm using for now until I'm able to get everything through easy. And Terry, when Terry was here on Sunday, that's how we were doing it. We had a screen in the middle, and the camera just captures the image so the people at home can see the same words everyone else is seeing. It's not as crisp and as clean, and the broadcaster in me dies a little inside that I have to do it that way for now. But it works. The words are seen.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
This is Jay. I've got a question.
Sure.
Talking about video, let's say you're streaming live with an iPhone, and the viewers on the other end, correct me if I'm wrong, the video is reversed, if you will, or flip-flop, left to right.
Flip.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Can you
Okay.
switch that back or correct that, if you will?
What you're probably doing is my guess. It's just my guess. I don't know for certain. If you are using your phone and you're using the camera on the screen side to shoot yourself so that you can see yourself in the screen, that is mirrored, because when you're like doing a selfie and you're waving, the hand waves like you're looking in a mirror normally. Like right now, my Zoom, on my end, Zoom is mirrored. I don't know if you realize this, but on your Zoom right now, like if you raise your right hand and you wave it, it's a mirror image, but everybody else sees you flipped. Zoom is nice enough that it only flips your image. But a lot of things like Facebook and all that are just using that same image and sending it out. If you use the camera that's on the back of your phone, meaning you get the tripod set up and you get it pointed and someone's got it and they're sending it, it should be in the right, it should be right. It should not be flipped. But the camera that's on your screen side, a lot of time when you have it activated, it mirror images what it's seeing. So that when you're looking at the screen, it's not reversed. So that when you're raising your hand over here in the screen, it's raising it over here. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I think Mark has another question.
Okay.
Unless we didn't get that hand down.
Ask away, Mark.
Who, me?
Oh, we just didn't put your hand down.
Your blue hand
no,
is-
sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, you
Sorry.
have to come up with one now. We call
Now
it.
you have to have a question.
All right, Cliff, how do you get your hair coiffed so gorgeously?
Let me tell you, my hair has never been this long. I have never had this much facial hair. This is totally my COVID look, and it's probably going to come to a screeching halt when I go on vacation. I have not decided yet, but we will see. We will see. I have it ponytailed in the back. It's definitely longer than I've ever had it. But yeah, it's as hot as it's getting, and I just realized that the AC shut off in here about an hour ago. I think that it's going to be coming to an end pretty soon. I'm not certain.
It's beautiful, Cliff.
Thank you.
All right. We have Steven with one.
Yes.
Yes. So I got a question about if we're using Zoom, how does and OBS, how does Zoom talk to OBS? Does it do you set OBS as the source?
I'll show you. I'll
Yeah.
take you up here. So we're going to share the screen again so I can show you. All right. So up here why did it tuck it back there? No, hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay. So up here in OBS, you see this thing that says tools. You have to download this as an add-on to OBS. I don't think I had to pay for it, but it was an add-on I had to get. There's this little thing that says virtual cam. And virtual cam creates a virtual webcam out of what OBS is seeing. And then when you go into, I don't know if it'll let me see this. Now the problem is when I click share screen, all the Zoom settings go to the top.
Sure.
But if you look at your Zoom right now, if you look at your Zoom at the bottom, and next to both the camera and the microphone, you see that little up arrow, right?
Yeah, a little chevron there. Yeah.
Like when you click that, it gives you the options of what to choose. And you probably just see your webcam most likely as your video input. Right. When you run the virtual cam inside of OBS, there is another thing I see. I see a thing that says OBS camera, and I can choose that. And by choosing that, it sends the video signal. Okay? When you go over to the audio one, you have lots of options for the input for the microphone, as well as the output. In addition to choosing the obvious one that you probably all have selected, which is your, most of you are probably using your laptop's camera right now. You would see, in my case, I have the USB audio device that I have plugged in from the sanctuary is there. So I would choose that. And that would feed the audio from the sanctuary out to Zoom. So that's what would be feeding.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
No problem.
I guess, is there not like a separate, like, we wouldn't be using like a stream key for Zoom then, like you do with like, YouTube, Twitch,
no, you wouldn't need a Zoom key. If you're just sending it to Zoom, you would not need a stream key. Now, and this is going even higher in the penthouse that I tried. So a few weeks ago, I don't know if any of you all saw it, Michelle Sloan and I did a Kirkmont campfire together that we streamed live. And she and I were together on Zoom, and we streamed that Zoom call out through Facebook Live for people to watch. Zoom updated their interface 2 days before we did this, and it crashed everything. Nothing would work. It would not. Zoom was not talking to OBS, and I was saying unpastorally words and throwing things about the house. I had to go and I had to find an older version of Zoom online and reinstall it to make it all work. I haven't tried to do that again to know if they fixed it since then. But there are supposed to be ways that you could have a Zoom call that you share out a stream. I know that our Presbytery has done that for our Presbytery meetings, but there are ways to even do it more fancy in OBS. Like you could take just sections of it and show and black out other areas and put a graphic and all that stuff. Like I have green screen technology, like I said, that I use at home, and I have different backgrounds I put behind me when I'm doing Bible study or whatever, and the green screen just blocks it out, and I'm at the beach or I'm riding the People Mover at Disney World or something, and or just I'm in front of the church and I change the pictures with the season. Those are all options that are there for you. You can go as advanced or as crazy as you want, or you could just say, just put that screen over here and let me show it. But yeah, stream key is really only needed if you're going to Facebook or you're going to YouTube, or in the case here, we use a service called Castr that splits the signal to go to both places. And that's a paid service, but we pay for it.
How do you spell Castr?
Hold on, I'll show you the website. Castr is over here. C-A-S-T-R.
And this will let you split. Oh, so this will let you send to multiple streaming services.
Yeah. What I do is I have a stream key that goes to Castr from OBS. And okay, I want to activate it for a second. So it will, give it a second. So right now, I'm not streaming out to the world. I'm just streaming to Castr. And so you see how it's got me over here. That's the preview. And if I were to click this, it would then split that signal between YouTube and Facebook Live. The YouTube would go live instantly, because the minute YouTube receives something, and the internet connection is unstable because I'm in a Zoom call and trying to stream at the same time, and it's saying, please don't do that. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm making it work too hard. But those switches that you saw on the other side, when I toggle them, then it starts sending the signal there. Facebook, you still have to do the final step of telling it to go live as well. But Go Live splits it between the two places, so it'll go there simultaneously. OBS is not made to send two streams simultaneously. You have to pay for an outside service to do that. And we just did that at the beginning because there were some people that wanted nothing to do with Facebook whatsoever. And so I said, well, we can do it to YouTube and Facebook if I buy the service, and they were fine with me doing it. So we do it. Any other questions?
So with the YouTube to live stream it, I came up with something one time where it said you had to have 1,000 subscribers to do a live stream. Is it?
That may be to use certain features of live streaming. You have to have that. But I just go to the what's called live dashboard, and that gives me all the options to activate a stream. Okay. That may have been for you to do like an event or some type of big special thing. Yeah, because I mean, YouTube has all these little incentives they want of various,
Because we typically come in just under 1,000.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't have that many. I mean, I have
under 1,000.
Our church has like 50 maybe at most.
No, I was being sarcastic.
But it's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
I think that's for like streaming to like off your mobile phone. You have to have
YouTube does not. Yeah, YouTube is not set up for that to be easily done. For that's probably it. But if you were doing it through your computer in OBS, you wouldn't have that restriction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So looking at your YouTube channel where it has all your evening prayer, worship, evening check-in, where it says streamed 1 week ago. So you streamed those, but then they remain, so you can go back and look at them later.
Yep. Okay. Awesome. It archives them all. Now, one thing that I do need to do more often is you can go back into it and look at all your videos, and you can arrange them by playlist. Like I could put all the evening check-ins in one playlist, all of our virtual choir anthems in a playlist, and all the worships in a playlist, so that when people go there to look, they can pick what it is they're looking for, and it'll have it more organized. I just haven't had time to do that in a while. So
thank you.
I've been too busy making more videos.
Can I just review something?
Sure.
The difference between just taking your iPhone, putting it on the stand you showed us, and putting it in the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And between that and using all this technology you've been showing us is that with the technology, we can change scenes, we can pre-record things and slide it. That's the big difference, right?
Well, also better quality audio and video. If you want to see the difference, hold on. I want to share the screen again. So I want to come. This is the first week I did this in the sanctuary with just, if it'll let me show it, with just oh, come on now. Don't embarrass me, YouTube. Okay. This is me just.
Not church.
Oh my goodness.
But the gathering and communication.
Who's that guy without a beard?
That's the church.
So, but anyway, this is me in the sanctuary.
Never be thirsty. Water that I
See how far away the audio sounds?
Yeah,
very echoey, and it's just a static shot.
Sir, give me this
that's
water.
the first week I did this with just the mic, just the on a tripod. Then let me go to. Hold on. In May.
His mighty power and his grace.
Oh, I don't know. I don't want ads. Why are you? Oh. So you see I'm changing angles. You can hear the music very clearly. And then this is me doing the sermon in the hallway.
To try to pretend that it wasn't what I had been doing, because I obviously was. And the voice of my parents called out, and I followed out to the car, knowing I had better walk a better path next time. Oh, and I was also forbidden from going to the balcony for a while. May we find the time and may we connect. Yes, we do connect to a lot of people through our stream and through our Zoom Sunday school and our
and people can hear it more clearly.
Yeah, that last was very clear. Yeah,
and it's more visually appealing than this long shot from far away. Even when I'm using this camera in here, and on Sunday when I was using it, because Terry was up front and I was in the back, I was like zooming in and getting tighter shots. And my hope is I get enough people comfortable that I can have more of that happen with more close-up shots and less of the very big cavernous viewing of the sanctuary. And OBS it opens the door to more tools to use to improve the quality of the sound and improve the quality of the images, and using the pre-recorded elements, which you can't do any of that with a smartphone. You can't. You can do an upload. You can pre-record and edit video on your phone and then upload the whole thing to YouTube. But if you want to stream it live, pretty much only thing a smartphone's going to let you do is, here's the camera and the audio that it picks up, go. So.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Cliff, we're at 3:25, so
Yep.
I know that we've had some folks that have had to leave.
Yep.
We will definitely follow this up with some more communication about some of the things you heard and where you can find this video to look at it again. I'm assuming that we're going to need to do kind of a round 2.
Yeah.
And Cliff, I think you and I'll give, when we send information out, I think Cliff would be available if you have some one-on-one, or if you're just getting started. I know that he's a good resource and can troubleshoot, so we'll definitely make
I will
sure
warn you, I'm
that's-
going on vacation next Friday for 2 weeks, so I will not be taking many troubleshooting calls while I'm on the beach. But if you call me before then, I will help you as best I can.
And after that, we'll track him down. And we're trying to continue to build a bank of other folks who can help you, because this is, I know that one of the things we're also talking about around the churches is that now that you have started some type of live streaming, you are realizing this needs to continue. Even if we could return tomorrow, we're starting to realize, because we've had folks comment that they have individuals in different care facilities that can now be present in worship. We have some folks who have moved but haven't quite gotten footing, and they've been able to come back. So we know that live streaming is here, and maybe where to take it. And even to deepen, I've been dabbling in digital discipleship. So how not to just have an audience, but how to go deeper. And some of you are already starting to do that with your Christian education and with your Bible studies. So there's a lot that we can follow up on.
I remembered one more thing, Terry, I want to make certain I share. It's the most important piece of all the equipment that you see here, and I haven't shown it to you. And I want to show it to you. See that? See that red wire?
Yeah.
That's an Ethernet wired connection. There is nothing more important to this stream, aside of the Holy Spirit, than a wired internet connection. Wi-Fi is your enemy in streaming. Trying to use a 4G connection is your enemy. There are times you have no choice. If you're outside, you may have to just use the internet service you have over the air. But if you can have a wired internet connection, it improves things dramatically for the quality of the stream and how it's going out. And make certain you have decent internet at your church. And make certain that no one else is doing anything else with the internet when you're streaming. I had to put an embargo down at the house because on Sunday morning, Emily would be teaching Sunday school at Bath. I would be streaming worship. And I had to tell the kids, I'm sorry, for the next hour, no Netflix, no Disney Plus. You gotta go play with stuffed animals or something. You cannot use the internet because we had it taxed to the limit to be streaming in 2 different directions. But the internet connection is very important. I was very fortunate that I had some people willing to get up in the ceiling and run the wire all the way down to the sanctuary so we could start streaming from in here, because the Wi-Fi signal was not going to make it. It was going to be horrible from here. But they ran the wire down, and now we have a good signal, and we're able to stream from here. But that is as important as every other piece of equipment I showed you. Is just a simple $15 wire from Home Depot that connects the church router to the computer that you're using to stream from in the sanctuary or wherever. All right.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Any closing thoughts?
This is Jay. A quick question about cameras.
Yeah.
Zoom pan tilt type cameras. Do you have any experience there? Recommendation?
I haven't used them yet. That's kind of like a next gen thing for me, in that I want my people to be comfortable using what we're using, and then we'll consider making that jump. I know people that have used them and do like them. They're not cheap, and there are some that are proprietary, meaning they only work with a particular streaming service. Venmo makes a camera that streams directly to their service, and I got a friend that uses one and likes it and swears by it. But I like the flexibility of using one however I want. And, you know, like I said, this camera, $250, and it's just fine. I do have to, I want to put somebody behind it that can tilt it and turn it and move it, you know, but I can train somebody to do that. It would be nice to have the little joystick control and do all that, but most of those start at about $1,200 for just the camera. And that's as much as my whole streaming system cost, almost including the computer. So yeah, they're nice. They do good things, but it's just not an expense I'm willing to put out right now while we're already pushing the limits of the budget as it is.
Adam has a question.
Yeah. The new computer we're going to be using is going to be it's the graphics code. It's going to be a laptop. It's got another. It's going to have the graphics process is going to be an AMD Radeon 540X 2 gig. Do you think that's going to be okay? Or?
Oh yeah, 2 gig, especially on a separate video card. That's the main thing you want to find if you're using a laptop, is does it have a separate video processor, a gaming video style processor? Because that means that especially if you're going to be doing some recording, some editing, all of that, that means that separate chip is doing the heavy lifting, and it's letting the main CPU do what it needs to do. And you can even go, there's even settings, and this is going deep nerd, there's even settings in OBS where you can tell it to make use of that chip more to improve the quality of things.
Okay.
So it's basically, it's using a secondary engine to drive it all. So
okay, great.
You really want a separate video card if you can get it.
Okay.
Any other concluding thoughts?
Like I said, this was great. So
Nancy, were you going to ask something?
I was just going to say I'm thankful for this. You know, there's things I hear, but I don't understand how they work. And so just sharing the equipment and the names of the equipment is just really helpful to me, Cliff. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, it was no different than for me when I started. Like the day I realized that this was going to have to be done for real and for a long term, I sat in my office and just started watching YouTube videos and tutorials on this, and on OBS and on cameras and on interfaces. And there was a ton of it that, like, they were teenagers being cool and using terms that, like, I'm like, I don't need this. I need someone who speaks it in my language. And I finally found a guy, and I'll put a link to his channel, his YouTube channel, the guy who I watched the most tutorials of on how to use OBS. Because he was pretty, you know, he was making it look flashy and all that, but he wasn't being like, well, here's my video about how to use OBS. I was like, no, stop. I have a 10-year-old at home. I don't need a 10-year-old teaching me OBS. But you know, we've all had to adapt like crazy right now. We all have, and don't feel bad if you don't get it all right the first week. You're making an attempt. You're trying your best to connect to your congregation, and you will be amazed some of the people that embrace it heavily. I have been so surprised by some of my older congregation that shows up for the check-in every night I do it. And they're in the chat channel, and they're letting me know what they want prayed for and what's on their mind, and they show up for the Zoom Bible study, and because they're looking to be connected. And this is a way, it's as close as we can do right now. It's not great, it's not ideal, it's not the same as being here in worship, but there are definitely some that even when we started coming back for a few weeks, they were not comfortable coming. They just weren't, and they were still able to come to the stream and be part of worship. And that was that was the thing. I did not want to, I had no plans to shut streaming down whenever we came back. Streaming is here to stay at Central as long as I have a hand on it. So, and some days I have to be the one that has the hand on it because not everybody's learned how to do it yet. We've only just started to cover the beginner lessons of how to do it with my staff. But it's a good way to get us at least somehow connected. And yeah, and like I said, you'll be surprised some of the people who will embrace it once it's there.
All right, so be on the lookout. We have all those of you who have registered, we have all of your emails, so we will directly communicate with you. We will have this, and I think I'll work with Cliff. This could go into some of our resources on our Presbytery webpage. We do try on the Presbytery webpage to put on things that are helpful and links as we live with COVID and some of the racial justice. So all of that, continue to look at that. And thank you for being part of this. And thank you, Cliff, for sharing your expertise.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right.
I'll edit this video together and try to put some other things to show the graphics of what I'm doing. I'll see what I can do to improve that, but we'll see. We'll see.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. The Lord be with you. And thank you for what you are doing.
Thank you.